Well, here's a story. In the 19th century, a man called George Smith was an Assyrian expert at the British Museum. And for 10 years, he had been painstakingly deciphering cuneiform remnants from a very famous library, which had belonged to King Ashurbanipal in the 7th century BCE. And this library was housed in the great city of Nineveh in Mesopotamia. Nineveh, by the way, is the same city that Jonah was sent to save. And then in 1886, on a fragment of tablet, he came across a story that would soon astonish the entire Western world. He read of a flood, a ship caught on a mountain, and a bird sent out in search of dry land. The first independent confirmation of a vast flood in ancient Mesopotamia, complete with a Noah-like figure and an ark. When he read this, it is reported, he became so excited that he jumped out of his chair and he ran around the room tearing off his clothes. What he had uncovered would become known in the West as the Epic of Gilgamesh, the 3,200-year-old account of Noah's exploits and one of the oldest works of literature in the world. And it constituted one of the most sensational finds in the history of archaeology. In fact, even British Prime Minister William Gladstone himself attended the presentation of Smith's findings because it could finally be proven that the Bible was true. That's the story. At any rate, the biblical narrative lends itself to many interpretations. One highlights the similarities between Noah's Ark and a synagogue. The biblical word for an ark is a teva. And the word, by the way, is found in only one other place in the Bible, because it is the same word which is used for the basket in which Moses was placed. We, of course, have an ark in our synagogue, but it's not called a teva, it is called an aron, the Aron HaKodesh. But this makes a connection between the two kinds of arks. For Noah and the family, his family, the ark was a safe place. It was a sanctuary where they were safe from the forces that buffeted the world. While he was in the ark, Noah and his family were passive. They were safe, but they played no active role. And in this sense, synagogues, of which the Aron HaKodesh is the defining feature, are similar. No matter what is going on outside in the world, when you enter shul, there'll be familiar seats in a familiar room, familiar words in a familiar book, and familiar tunes. The rabbi, as always, in his usual place. And it's often the case that in difficult and turbulent times of life, people turn to shul because it is a touchstone of stability. It's a sanctuary from raging waters. And like Noah in the ark, the congregant in shul is a passive participant, just going with the flow, taking the ride as it moves along. But there is another dimension of Noah's ark. It is also a revolutionary instrument. It is the agent, after all, through which God presses the reboot button for the world. On the one hand, it seems God wants to destroy the world and start from scratch. But on the other hand, God doesn't really want to destroy everyone and everything and have to create the world completely anew. And so the ark is God's compromise between revolutionary change, destroying the world and starting again, and complete stasis, making no change whatsoever in the world. And it's the same for synagogues. Because in one sense, a synagogue saves and preserves Judaism, at the very least, certain public communal aspects of Judaism, like communal prayer rituals, the rituals around the Sefer Torah. But synagogues that don't change become museums. And this is the dilemma that faces every Jewish community of whatever denominational stripe. Change too much, and you throw out the baby with the bathwater. Don't change enough, and you become irrelevant. Synagogues, therefore, have to adapt to new social environments, while at the same time retaining recognizable elements of the old, because the needs of human beings stay the same. How we respond to them, that changes. And like Noah's Ark, therefore, synagogues are a balance between stability and revolution. There is another connection between the Ark and the synagogue. In the 18th century, the great sage known as the Baal Shem Tov noted that the word teva, which we use to describe an ark, also means a word in Hebrew. So the commandment to Noah, Bo el HaTeva, enter into the ark, can also be read in another way, enter into the word, referring, of course, to the words of prayer. Because like the ark, engaging in familiar prayer provides a sense of comfort and security, especially at turbulent times. But more than any other aspect of Judaism, it is also the primary instrument of personal transformation. It contains both elements within it, just as the ark contained both elements within it. Enter deeply into the words of prayer, urged the Baal Shem Tov, and then you can even touch the divine. Shabbat Shalom.